To join me in the first segment of my program is Pakistan's permanent representative in the United Nations, Ambassador Munir Akram, who is joining me live from Geneva. He's also the president of Economic and Social Council of United Nations. Ambassador Sahab, welcome to my program. Tell me, India has made a lot of efforts to diplomatically isolate Pakistan in the communities of the nation. Pakistan certainly has done a lot of efforts to overcome this vicious plan from India. How your office has worked on it, and can you tell us a bit more detail about this Indian design?
First of all, we should not accept the Indian denomination that they are trying to isolate Pakistan, because Pakistan cannot be isolated. We are a prominent member of the international community. We are the fifth largest country by population. We are an important player in the region, within the Islamic world, within the United Nations. So, by definition, Pakistan cannot be isolated, because India's own reality is becoming exposed to the world. And Pakistan, during the tenure of Prime Minister Imran Khan, has played an active role in exposing the reality of what is India. India's policies in Jammu and Kashmir, India's policies towards Indian Muslims, India's policies in the region, all of them expose the nature of the regime which rules India today. And it is not a pretty sight. And people at the popular level, at the level of individual people in various parts of the world, including the Western world, they recognize the nature of this new India, which has a fascist face, which has an ideology of hate against Muslims and other minorities. And this is not a pretty face, and we have to expose it in order to change India's policies and enable it to accept, to apply the principles of the United Nations Charter in its dealings with Pakistan.
Ambassador Sahab, FATF was an effort, as viewed in Islamabad, to financially strangulate Pakistan. And in order to overcome the challenge that apparently looked like a daunting task, there was a two-pronged approach by the government, as we understand. One was on the economic management side, and the second one was on the diplomatic front, where your office has been a front runner. Can you tell us more about it, please?
I think that there are two aspects to the FATF story. First of all, there is the aspect of the need to have transparency in financial transactions in order to ensure the integrity of transactions and the honesty of transactions. I think, as you know, Pakistan has seen an outflow of a lot of our own precious resources through corruption and crime flowing out of the country, and the Prime Minister has spoken about this very eloquently. And therefore, we need to tighten our financial regulations, our financial laws, to ensure against criminal transfers and criminal behavior. Now, some of these criminal transfers have also involved us with certain terrorists and certain terrorist organizations. And that exposure has enabled our enemy, i.e. India, with the support of some of its own allies, to exert financial pressure on Pakistan by threatening to downgrade us into the grey list and blacklist that the FATF adheres to. Our disadvantage diplomatically has been that we are not a member of this, the oversight body in FATF. And this is an oversight that was made in the past, that we were not part of this body. And that has exposed us to the pressure from India and the machinations of India in order to exert pressure on Pakistan. So, in order to avert this pressure, to avert the objectives of India, we have to first improve our own regulations and laws in order to ensure that we have nothing that can be pointed a finger at. And then secondly, we need to rectify whatever has happened in the past. Now, Pakistan's diplomacy, of course, has tried to expose the difference between the two. The difference between legitimate desire to have good regulations and the illegitimate desire of our enemy in order to harm the economic fortunes and economic development of Pakistan. And I think we have to a considerable extent exposed the Indian machinations of exerting pressure on Pakistan. But they will continue, and we will continue to frustrate them.
Ambassador Sahab, Imran Khan's speech in the United Nations General Assembly has set the stage in the world to understand the issue of Kashmir to a deeper dimension. It is widely believed in Pakistan that Pakistan's case with regards to Kashmir has never been that eloquently fought in United Nations as was fought by the Prime Minister himself. Now, this must be taken forward. This momentum cannot be stopped, and it then becomes responsibility of a mission in United Nations. How are you taking this mission forward, and what have we accomplished after the UNGA summit so far?
I think we have been engaged in a diplomatic campaign ever since the Prime Minister's path-breaking speech at the United Nations, where he spoke openly and from the heart about the Kashmir cause and Pakistan's commitment to the Kashmir cause. For the first time after almost 50 years, Pakistan brought the issue to the Security Council. We had been reluctant in the past. Past governments had been reluctant to do so, but we took a bold step and a decision by the Prime Minister to take it to the Security Council. The Security Council has now discussed it on 3 occasions, the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. And those discussions are important both from a political point of view as well as a legal point of view. This has kept the issue of Jammu and Kashmir alive on the agenda. It is on the active agenda of the Security Council, and we will try to keep it alive because it exerts pressure on India. It also underlines the fact that Jammu and Kashmir is an international dispute. It is not an integral part of India as the Indians claim. So the existence of the dispute, the existence of the legal basis of the dispute has to be kept up and raised at the United Nations, and the Security Council is the highest body. The Security Council is a place which has taken the decisions to resolve the Kashmir dispute through a plebiscite. So we have to keep raising it, even though India has friends in the Council, permanent members who may frustrate decisions. But we will need to keep up the pressure and keep raising the issue in the Security Council. But apart from that, in the human rights, this is a wide-ranging campaign. We have raised it in every forum at the United Nations. In the Human Rights Council, over 50 countries joined us in a joint statement right after 5 August measures and denounced the Indian unilateral measures that were taken. 18 special rapporteurs of the Human Rights Council have sent 2 joint communications to the Indian government asking questions on various aspects of human rights, on summary executions, on disappearances, on collective punishment, on the treatment of journalists, a whole range of issues where they have said that human rights are in free fall in India, and especially in Jammu and Kashmir. India has to respond to this, and we will keep up the pressure on India to respond to this. The High Commissioner for Human Rights wants to go to India and to the Pakistani side of Jammu and Kashmir, to the Indian side of Jammu and Kashmir. She has asked to go to both sides of Jammu and Kashmir. We are ready to receive her. India is not ready to receive her. So the pressure, we will maintain that pressure. International human rights organizations, civil society, legislators, parliamentarians have all spoken out. We will have to keep the momentum of pressure on India, because it is only through pressure, only when the major governments begin to question India's record and India's policies, that those policies will change. And therefore, we need to maintain that pressure, and we will keep that pressure up.
Pakistan has given the proofs of Indian involvement, as we understand, in patronizing terrorism as well as orchestrating these attacks on Pakistan's civil and military installations within the country. This pattern of terrorism has almost come to a major halt ever since Indian spy has been arrested from Pakistan and his case has been presented to the International Court of Justice. Your office is also taking a lead in presenting all these evidences to the United Nations and contesting Pakistan's case in the League of the Nations. Tell us about it. What response have we received from United Nations so far?
After our government prepared a composite dossier of India's sponsorship of terrorism in Pakistan, we were sent the dossier, and I shared that with the Secretary General, and the Secretary General has promised that they will study the dossier very carefully, and they will come back to us with responses to the evidence that has been provided. We have also written to the Security Council and asked the Security Council committee, which lists the terrorist organization associated with Al Qaeda and ISIS. Those we have written to them, and we have asked for a meeting, a consultation, investigation of the allegations of India's support to the TTP and to the JUA. We have specifically asked for that investigation. Some of India's friends have blocked that discussion, and we are going to keep pressing them to open that discussion. Of course, India is now sitting in the Security Council itself and is likely to block discussions, but we will keep up the pressure, and we are going to raise it in all ancillary organs of the Security Council and apprise the monitoring team, the Office of Counter-Terrorism, etc. We have kept them apprised of India's activities in sponsoring terrorism against Pakistan. And the objective is to expose this, and to expose this in front of the international community. And I think we are succeeding to expose the fact that India sponsors terrorism against Pakistan, TTP, JUA, Baluch separatists. So we will have to maintain that effort, and we are hopeful that once we have a settlement in Afghanistan, that India will lose the ungoverned spaces from which it is sponsoring that terrorism against Pakistan.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Akram, for your participation